Is there a hidden code inside the white paper for Bitcoin by Satoshi Nakamoto when he wrote it? No. About a year ago, there was a trial with COPA v. Wright, and inside the trial, there's some testimony that revealed the possibility that there may have been a hidden code inside of it. Well, a year later, a dude called Alex Fauvel out in Rotterdam, Netherlands, he did a deep dive on the mathematical and science and technology behind this paper with something called steganography. And today we're going to do a show, space, reveal his findings, and see what it's all about. Try to keep it as like investigative and neutral as possible, and civil, hopefully. So it should be a lot of fun. Entertainment purposes only, says Gavin Mehl. I'll see you on the inside and at the top at the one. Subscribe, watch till the end, and I'll should be good. Well, good afternoon. Good morning. It's a great day. This is Gavin. Casey, Nicole, looks like you're here. We got Scott. Hello, everybody. Thumbs up. Yeah. Alex Fauvel. Yeah. There was like a year ago, what was it? There was a trial with Craig Wright and COPA, and he was up on the stand. And I remember one of the days, the last, I don't know which day it was, but I'm gonna have to ask Scott. But one of the days he was up there, and he said, "Oh, hey, Judge, there's another way I could prove the authorship of the Bitcoin white paper. It's if you'd like to hear about that." And then I remember Judge Mudd, he just ended the hearing. He said, "Oh, that's enough for today, everybody. Goodbye." And he ended the hearing. We never got to hear what that other way was. But I remember that making a video at that time about how Craig had made some papers on steganography. I didn't know anything really what it was, but I guess in 2008 he wrote some papers on that stuff. And I tried to look for all his papers yesterday in Google. I didn't really see, I couldn't find it. I don't remember exactly which one it was called, but there's like hundreds of papers in there. So definitely Alex might know when he comes up. Oh, he's here. What's up, Alex? How you doing, man?
Hey Gavin, how's it going?
Good. Good, man. So, yeah, I mean, let's maybe we could do a Casey, how you doing today?
Fabulous. Really looking forward to this because I definitely picked up on that in the trial as well and was really hoping that we were going to have more information come through on that. So it's finally here. Thank you so much, Alex. I'm really grateful for everything you've been doing. Looking forward to this today.
Yeah. Some yeah, be sure to hit the ones, likes, share this space, retweet it, post it, get it out there, and consider this entertainment purposes only. All the people who don't like it, this is entertainment. So, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch or listen. um, but Scott, what about you, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I remember the same thing in the court case. It was the last words he said. It was, so is there any proof of authenticity of the white paper, cryptographic proof? And Craig went, not cryptographic proof. And they'd been talking about steganography, and I very much was like, oh my God, guys, I think there's a hidden steganography in the white paper. It's gonna be revealed. We're gonna get this smoking gun moment, and it never happened. So I looked like a bit of a wally, sort of bigging people up, because that's what I genuinely believed. And so it's quite a relief to see that Alex is, with his steg brain, has managed to find something. So yeah, really excited about this, and happy Alex can join us.
Yeah, I mean, just as the anticipation, I mean, building, I mean, can you imagine being the guy who wrote that paper and that you if you potentially put a code in there and then you finally get your day in court and you finally get your chance to reveal it, and here you are, you get a chance, and then they shut the case down. You never get to, sh- you never get to show it. I would imagine it would be like this building up pressure, just wanting to show what you did, and it's never been revealed. So, Alex, dude, over to you, man. What? Tell us. Maybe you could kind of give a background as to as to what the story is like from the beginning, because I did read your paper, and I'm sorry if I revealed too much on one of my videos, man. So it was really really good, but I really want to hear it from you, like kind of give your story, your motivation, and the purpose behind all this.
Yeah, no worries about the video. I knew that as soon as it started to percolate throughout, the community, the method would start leaking. It's just what happens with these kinds of things, which is why the method is, supposed to be kept a secret. But yeah, I mean, the journey to it goes back to Craig mentioning Steg in 2017 or 2018, and putting up a competition about how to use it to hide a transaction within a picture, which is a type of steganography and different type of steg to the stuff I just decoded. But in BSV, it's been really tough. Everything we've tried has always landed flat because either of internal fights or external influence or whatnot. And every time someone tries to do something big and professional with a partner, something falls through, which means it doesn't happen. A lot of people blame Craig for that kind of stuff. I don't, because I now know he's Satoshi. Like I've seen the evidence. I found the evidence myself. Whether people can read that and my process and come to the same conclusion or a different, more ambiguous conclusion, that's up to them. But to me, it is 100% conclusive now that Craig's name is in that white paper written in an ancient language that is different every time you see it. And no other name pops out of the paper in the same way that I have been able to reproduce. Yeah, and if you want to know like what the motivation was, I mean, the fact that nothing was working and you had these cypherpunks running around the world talking to governments, effectively saying, oh, well, Bitcoin's our creation, when everything they have done, in my opinion, is counter to what Bitcoin was supposed to be. So I started reading the emails and having a bit of knowledge about Steg, I started seeing what looked like intentional errors within the mailing list, and I started decoding the Steg I was seeing, starting with smaller, easier emails and then working my way up to the ones that were more complicated. And then you may have seen some videos about Adam Back and roofing, pretty cryptic ones that I've been doing. They're not necessarily for a general audience. People have to understand that the evidence that I've been seeing, especially on the cypherpunk mailing list, points to them being some of the most dangerous and powerful criminals in the world, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Clinton and the people behind Anonymous and, all this other stuff. So my videos for that were more of, here's as much information as I can cram into like 2 minutes, so that if things start going wrong or whatever, I don't think they will, but there is enough there for a serious investigation to occur. So I've kind of skipped to the end, but the journey was through that, and then with that knowledge, looking at the Bitcoin white paper a bit differently. When I sat down and opened it, within 2 minutes, I saw the 725 and went, there's something with that. Let's try and apply it to where's logical, which is the references. I didn't know exactly how to apply the key, but I then started looking in section 2. And in section 2, there is the one instance of double spending the word that is not hyphenated, which would suggest that whatever steg you're looking for is not here. And then that actually led to section 10, which is where tape in quotation marks is. And that refers, in that context, it talks about making times and sizes of trades public to keep privacy, which suggests that if you're trying to figure out what to do with something steganographically, look for where the quotation marks are used elsewhere in the paper. And they are used in the references. And the interesting thing about the references of the 725 is that they're the only ones with a month in the date, which suggests that, yes, there is something interesting about those three. And the last number, 5, so 10 is binary for 2, so it's still 725. And then 5, the fifth at the last element of the puzzle, is in section 5, and it's the only one with a list in it. And a list is pretty common for a main steg message because it's alphanumeric and you can do lots of different operations with it clearly. When you have a paragraph of text, it's a bit more difficult to communicate what rules you should apply to it. Yeah, and that's kind of the story. Like I discovered it, and then it was like within 2 days, kind of mentioned it on Twitter and tried to figure out how to both edit it so that it's a complete robust story with robust techniques into how to apply the steg in different ways to come to potentially different results. Kind of effectively trying to come at it from all the angles and find out all possibilities of all the different steg elements to exhaust any other possibilities and prove that it is actually only Craig's name that comes out of the list. Some people did talk about potentially coding up a Python script to do that. That might be something I might be able to do over the weekend with AI, which I've been playing with today, to see if this all links to the Genesis block. Because I think if we can prove that this message that pops out of the Bitcoin white paper, Craig's name, links somehow to something else, hopefully in the blockchain, then we know for certain.
Well, go ahead, Scotty.
I'd like to ask you. So just obviously we're talking about steg. Can you give us a quick rundown for any novices on what actually steg is? What's the purpose? Why would someone take all that extra time to change the numbers around and stuff like that?
So there's 2 ways to send a secret message. Either you mutate the message so no one can read it except the person you send it to, or you send a message such that no one knows you sent a message. Now, the cryptography is the first one, steganography is the second one. Steganography means covered writing. So when you create a steganography message, you actually need to send 2 messages. And the way you do it is like, as you're constructing a document, you put intentional errors in there that other people that know the techniques of and methods of steganography will be able to pick up on and then apply in pretty logical ways to extract the message. It relies on the fact that no one knows there is a message there to get. And as soon as people know there is a message there to get, it's only a matter of time until people pull it out. And what's interesting about the way the Bitcoin white paper one works is that it's using text elements. So it's like there's a comma in the wrong place. That's what the Bitcoin white paper does. And it's very, very slight and very subtle. But on the cypherpunk mailing list, there's very much more obvious mistakes like comma, double space, capital letter. It's the type of error that even a child can point out and go, that's not following the regular rules of English. And the reason they are able to sort of mutate it more in a spam email is because the standards for a spam email are non-existent. As long as you can read it, it doesn't matter. And well, there's a lot of these emails on the cypherpunks mailing list because they are covert adverts for illegal services, which the cypherpunks are probably the best customers for, because they're very politically ideological, and they love cryptography and hiding in the digital shadows effectively.
So there's
Yeah.
cryptography, which is more, seems like very, very common. I mean, I've heard a lot about that, but this other one is more uncommon. What's the difference again between the two cryptography?
It's not, I wouldn't say it was less common. It's just got different use cases. So cryptography
Hidden message and open message, basically. One is hidden, it's already encoded. The other one, it can be encoded without the viewer even realizing it's encoded.
It's kind of the difference between military and intelligence agency. The intelligence agency is covert, you're not even supposed to know it's there. Whereas military, it's like, okay, it's very obviously there, and it's the size of their guns that's protecting them. With the intelligence agencies, it's like, if they're known, then they're in risk, they're at risk. So it's actually not surprising that it's the intelligence agencies that use Steg quite a lot, but commercially it's used for data protection. So you put like a transparent watermark over an image, and then you trust that everyone doesn't share that without attributing you properly or paying you or whatever, because you're very easily caught effectively. Does that answer the questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So military versus intelligence.
So how can you determine the difference between just sort of a genuine error and an actual sort of at the start of the strand to go on to find the code?
It's all about context. Where did you find the error, right? If you're reading a regular academic paper on political science or something, it's probably quite unlikely that there's going to be Steg in there. But if you find something that looks like a formatting error that a normal person would fix because it doesn't look right, it doesn't look normal, you're more likely to find some sort of hidden message there. You've also got to understand that the nature of Steg is misdirection. So if someone is using Steg a lot, they may not have a decodable message in every message. And obviously the people that they're communicating with will have some sort of pre-knowledge that will help determine which messages that they should be looking at.
That's great. Thank you.
So Alex, you mentioned it's like a very old language. That's what you said when you first started?
Yeah, I describe it as a language because it's a method of reading and writing, but it's a technique. Like there isn't really, this letter means this, or like it's still using the regular alphabet. It's just how you apply the rules of what you're looking at and what you want the reader to do to mutate the message to get out a different message. So like you have to use some visual property of the symbol you are using that will infer something. So like if you want to flip mirror something, then you might use the letter E instead of 3. It's kind of like leak code mixed with texts. Like you shorten things, and if you see a puzzle, you can instantly recognize that these errors aren't natural because you want to fix them in a way that just looks visually pleasing, right? Because you're used to it. I'm dyslexic, so I make letter errors in words all the time. Those sorts of errors are less common in Steg, but it's more grammatical stuff. Capital letters are the basic example. If you've got a paragraph of text and only like certain words are capitalized, then you read only the capitalized words and you get something out.
Now, in your paper, why did you make a big deal about striking Adam Back's name? What was that part of the decoding?
Yeah, I mean that's a very subtle one that Satoshi seems to potentially have added after Adam gave the citation. I haven't seen the original draft that I'm aware of that was posted and sent to Adam, but it really does seem to me that Satoshi did not like Adam, and one of the indicators of that is that he used upload.ae to send it to him, which is a website that was covertly advertised on the cypherpunk mailing list. And I'm of the belief that Satoshi knew exactly what Adam was building in the 90s, which is something called an eternity service or a blue box or a blue sky network. Funny that Jack Dorsey has a network called Blue Sky these days and is around Adam Back quite a lot. But yeah,
He said that's his hero in one of his interviews. I think that's his hero.
Adam Back.
Yeah, I think that's what he said, isn't it? Didn't? Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, Jack Dorsey, he spent a lot of time on alt Usenet and cypherpunks apparently, whereas a follower of Tim May, who was the chief architect of the cypherpunk organization.
So what is a blue box? What is a blue sky network that you said?
So a blue box is an encrypted data blob published on Usenet. And Usenet is like the internet before the internet, where if you are part of the Usenet network, you're supposed to have everything that everyone else has if you're a full service. And the way it works is effectively the Unix to Unix copy protocol, which is basically just one Unix machine calling up another Unix machine and copying all the data since they last called, and then hanging up and going to the next one, right? So the protocol's really, really primitive, but you can start to understand that it is effectively versions of messaging boards and Reddit and stuff like that before those existed. And well, I think 30 years later, we've seen what kind of cultures those places ends up breeding. So you can kind of imagine that Usenet, although it might not have been like that at the beginning, went through some changes that the cypherpunks are very proud of, that allowed them to do things that they probably shouldn't have been doing. Such like you can fake a path. So a Usenet file doesn't have a URL. It has a path, which is like a path on your computer. And you can fake those, and you can host files in something called alt binary, which is effectively links to files all over the place and will compile them for you. So it's kind of like a BitTorrent anonymous posting board thing. And the idea is that you can't delete them because everyone will always have a copy at some point.
So Alex, what
Yeah.
was this is a hard project to accomplish. And so when did you get inspired to do this? And when did you start, or when did you come up with the idea to try to solve this? And What was your like
The
motivation?
steg decode of the white paper.
Yeah, I mean, and what did
I
it? How
mean,
long did it take to really once you finally said, I think I see something here to actually figure it out? What?
that I think in total, when I first saw the references out of order to getting Craig's name out of the list, took about a week. Yeah, maybe a week and a bit more, because right towards the end of publication, I realized that I wasn't necessarily applying the swapping rules correctly. So I updated that, and then I was like, right, okay, that is the entire full solution, because it's Dr. Craig SW, right? So and the C, I know people keep on bringing up the C, but the instructions are to remove the G. So that's what you do. So there is no G available to take under the rules of the decode. So it has to be a C. And the paragraph underneath the list actually says to expect packet loss. And the only packet loss that we get, right, because S is recovered, S is recovered in the second round. And I think there's another one that is as well.
So what
Can't
inspired
remember.
you? Like, why is this important? Why is this so important to you?
I mean, we've been sort of talking about this for years and years and years, haven't we? So, like, to be able to effectively use the white paper, and only the white paper, to expose the author of it, I mean, that's a magic trick. That's what everyone wants to be able to do. And I didn't necessarily set out to do it when I first started researching it. I didn't even know that it was possible. It started with looking at the cypherpunks. So you can probably thank them for training me to decode it, just because they use it so much on their emails. And you can thank Satoshi for pointing at them, because in my opinion, Satoshi he effectively strapped a time bomb to them, and then they started running and panicking. I don't know how quickly they got his name out of it, but they've known that this proof exists for a while. I'm certain of it, because their emails are covered in the same language. They would have picked up on it pretty quickly.
So, have you noticed any difference in the different edits of the white paper? Obviously, I know you said that you're not sure if you could find the original one, but I know there has been
Yeah,
a few drafts of
Crypto
it.
Tweak gave me a copy from supposedly 2008 that I referenced in the paper by hash. There are differences, and there are notable differences. All the steg elements that I've used are still there. So it's not
So,
like,
like the reference numbers still changed on the newer versions.
yes, yeah, well, yeah, the missing hyphens, the positioning of the hyphens at the ends of lines, the exact same text is in the list, the comma is still in the wrong place. And so I think there may be another message in section 6, which is why Adam Back's name is crossed out, because it's using references as indicators of where steg might be in the paper. Section 6 might be used, and it is the one that changed the most between the 2008 version and 2009 version. So I think there is probably a message still in there that I would like to sit down at some point and try and decode. But I think at the moment, people want a video of a full explanation that is more consumable than a 60-page document, which is me ranting half the time. Sorry about that, but I figured it might be read by a lot of people at some point, so I did just put down quite a lot of emotions.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Alex, this is pretty I mean, I wouldn't say comprehensive because it's so high level, but it's definitely, I mean, maybe you could come about with some of your conclusions. You said that you've made, and some of the messages that you saw out of this paper. You know, can you talk a little bit about that?
The messages out of this paper, they're not that interesting. They're like basically, Craig Wright, my initials, here's my name, and Adam Back, cross that out. Whether there's something more interesting in section 6, I don't know. We'll have to see. But in the mailing list, there's a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that point to very many events that scared the shit out of them, but also comforted them. Like, they keep on talking about spam as if it's a problem, but they're also like, this mailing list is really high volume, so you just deal with it. It's like they talk about the problems as if they don't want to fix them because they're happy with them. And I think that's indicative of a lot of what they've done with Bitcoin as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you want me to open up for questions and comments here?
Yeah, sure. I'm ready to talk about whatever because
Okay. Yeah. So feel free to jump. If anybody has any questions or comments, please, invite you up here, man. Let's hear from you. It would be cool. Casey.
Um, I have a question actually. I'm just wondering, Alex, have you gone over any of Craig's other papers to see if there's any steganography in those papers that sort of conforms to the similar rule set that you found in the white paper? I know he's released quite a few different papers previous to the white paper, which were used as evidence of him having, a great understanding of the details put into the white paper. I'm just wondering, have you checked any others at all?
I haven't, no, but that's a very good idea. I'm hoping that, when people read and understand the full decode and hopefully some of the material on the Patreon, people will be able to spot these things for themselves and contribute to the research effort because there's a lot of info and it's a lot to get through. But yeah, no, that's a good idea. He did one on Hayden on Steg in 2008. So I think that's probably a good place to start because it might give you an idea of what he did with respect to potentially Snow, or maybe he even used Hayden on the original binary of the Bitcoin .exe.
So he,
Until people run the experiment, it's very difficult to know what he did and didn't do.
so you're
But
saying that he
this
wrote a
there's
paper on,
evidence of him doing a lot of things to
did he write a paper
point
on
to himself.
steganography in 2008? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in Hayden, it's in the decode towards the
Yeah.
end and the conclusion.
So, did you
Nice.
say that if people wanted to contribute, they should message you through your Patreon? Is that right?
They can message me here on X if they don't want to subscribe on Patreon or the MetaNet ICU Slack. I give more priority to the people that contribute on Patreon, but because we're just kind of getting going, anyone's welcome to contribute however they can.
Yeah,
Nice.
if you could share the address link for that, that would be
Yeah,
great. We
we'll
could
do.
put that up in the nest.
Okay, but Casey, you were gonna go, and then I got Crypto Voyager. You're next. I think you had something, Casey. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question. If you had run any of this stuff through any tools like Stegcracker or Bacon Cipher Decoder that I saw ChatGPT had mentioned. So I was just curious if you used any of those kind of tools.
No, I haven't. Steg is a big field, and it seems like everything that Craig does is custom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how useful that would be, but Craig, and you follow his path, you'll get a
Mm-hmm.
much better idea of what he was thinking at the time.
Hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I was just wondering if anyone did, if there'd be any other messages that would come out or anything. So just curious. Thank you.
Nice. Okay. Request. Okay, we got Three speakers. Approve.
I can see Crypto Voyager with his hand up, but it's also saying connecting.
He should be back up now.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
hi everybody. Can anybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Hi, Alex. I read the paper. Have you seen this kind of steganography ever before? Can that be replicated
Yeah.
on, I don't know,
I've
MobiDick
seen it
or
on
some other?
these. I've seen it on the Cypherpunk mailing list, which is where I learned it. On the Cypherpunk mailing list, there are some
And
pretty complicated puzzles, but some of them have checksums to make sure that you're decoding the message correctly. In fact, most of them have checksums. So, you don't necessarily need to ask anyone whether you're getting the right answer.
yeah, then another one. I heard that you wanted to do a video to kind of like do it a little bit digestible.
Yep.
I would very much welcome that because I mean I don't care about the 62 pages. I mean
Yeah, I know.
I read Craig lawsuits just for fun. so
Yeah.
that's not my problem. But
No, I mean, for the people that don't want to digest 62 pages or 64 pages or whatever it is, it needs to be a video. But I had to do the document first and wanted to get that out first so that I knew it was robust enough. I was very confident in it before I did any of the Patreon stuff, but seeing the public's reaction and how few holes there are to poke, other than numerology or Texas sharpshooter fallacy, which is informal, which is not what this is. Those types of feedback are things that I'm going to incorporate into the video so that it's more robust even than the document. But if I don't have to cover absolutely everything in the document in the video, you can use the document as a reference to fill in any holes. Hope that makes sense.
okay, before everybody else speaks that has the hand up, if I may, another one. I sent this your paper through several AIs, and they all came out with inconclusive methodology problems and yada 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 yada. That is going to be the line of attack anyway. So. What is your defense on that?
Let me
The
let me
defense is
let me comment
if
on
it
that
Right.
first.
really,
Let me jump
yeah,
in on
go ahead.
that before you do, Alex, because I thought the same thing. So when you're working with these large language models, the one thing you got to make sure you educated on is to stay within the confines of the document, not go out and research and start hallucinating and doing things that it may be hearing about a conspiracy. Then you'll come back with bullshit. You've got to say, just focus on what's here in front of you right now, and then you can ask it for an analysis. Because these things are
But yeah,
they're programmed already one way, like maybe to vote Democrat, for example.
they're
So
programmed also to produce ambiguity on stuff that they can't know. And steg is not necessarily a topic that is widely talked about and put in these things. But like someone asked if it's, PhD quality, and it said, yeah, basically pass with high distinction. It depends on what question you're asking it. I recommend you be creative with those types of questions.
Okay, taking the AI out of the side, there is the idea that you might have been biased and finding something that you're looking for, the so-called there's a word for that when you find patterns in
Confirmation
something.
bias.
Yeah, but not only that, when you're looking at, I don't know, tiles, for example, and then suddenly you see faces on that, that might also be an attack vector. I mean, I'm not saying that you're
Yeah,
wrong or something
you're
like that.
you're you're not actually necessarily wrong about that, but the thing is that steganography uses that as a tool. right? It uses the mathematical symmetrical relationship between elements to infer something. So there is an element of that, but it's actually used as a tool in the method we're using.
Nice.
That's kind of why it doesn't look robust, but it's actually very effective in secret communication and has plausible deniability baked into it.
Okay, nice. Okay, who do we have next? Bondoc, were you in? Go.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. So, I guess my question, it's kind of interesting. I guess my question is, why does the rule seem sometimes inconsistent? Because, like, why is it that on the third letter, it's you're using the person who has two initials, but it's the first letter on that one, on the third one for W?
So this confused me for a long time. I tried to apply those three numbers to those references in as many different ways as I could to get like some idea of what the potential possibilities of the message were. But then towards the end of the analysis, someone pointed out the reason why it's ROT1 and you just count the characters missing the punctuation is because the error is ROT1, and ROT means rotate one. So you rotate each of the three elements across one position. So the 7 ends up being at the front. And when you apply the key in steganography, you're typically correcting errors. So you correct that error to ROT0 and then count each letter. And that's perfectly valid and probably what Craig actually intended. And maybe the other things are, just coincidence in the way that things line up. But interesting nevertheless. Great question, by the way.
So you're saying because it was written as 725, because 7 was written
Yeah,
first
because
before the
7's
2 and
first.
5, therefore use the first initial 7, but you only use the second initial for the 2 and 5.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
what
Well,
then makes, yeah, but then I guess the question is, what's making you choose the second initial? I guess I didn't understand that part then.
the key itself. So you're using the numbers 2, 5, 7 as the element, as the position of the elements. So you find the key, and then you apply it to the references by selecting the references in the order that they are presented in the key, and then you fix the error, and you use the key again to find the position of the letter that you're looking for
Yeah, it's
in
kind of
that
interesting because
reference.
it's
So
like
you
one of those
apply
things.
number 2
Yeah.
to reference 7, number 5 to reference 2, and then 7 to 5. You
And
know what
that's,
I'm saying.
I think that's the part where you're at the breach of, that it's becomes subjective. And I think that might be the reason too why Craig never said anything about it, because he knows himself that you can't
Explain.
necessarily convince someone
Yeah.
objectively. Do you know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah,
a
I know exactly
subjective
what you're saying.
this is a
It
subjective thing at the end of the day, because it's like why do the storks migrate when why do people have why are the most number of childbirths when the storks migrate? But it's not has nothing to do with September and fall. It just has to do with the fact that, like people screw around during the holidays, and 9 months later is September,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
and so like, how do we know that this was,
How
done
do we
on,
know
you know
it's
what I mean?
intentional?
That's the
Yeah.
problem. You still
So, but
arise
then
at.
that's the thing. The reason we know it's intentional is because we got the full message out of it, and it's the same characters. Because they match, we know it's intentional. If they didn't match, right? When you do this kind of thing, you're supposed to just get like random crap that doesn't mean anything. But the
Sure.
fact that we got the word right, and then we got D right, or whatever, and then as you progress throughout the puzzle, Craig Wright's name pops out of it, like when you're applying the rules consistently as they are told in the steg. it's pretty remarkable. Even if you want to say, oh well, you're interpreting this rule and that rule slightly wrong, his name is there, and I think that is undeniable, and it's the only one that's there that I've seen. I've spoken to some people about potentially creating a brute forcing Python script to actually prove that there is no other name there, but we'll see how that goes.
All right, nice.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it is odd. It is odd to me that the references are out of order, and so that's a good pickup. And one of the things that I'll just say while closing here, because I know I want to get to everyone else's questions, and Gavin's being very nice to me, is sadly the one way that you could have been definitive about it is if you were to put Craig in a room and then this in a room discussion without having told anyone about this. And you asked Craig, show me this. You told Craig, show me your steganographic proof on this paper, and
Yeah.
then you having already known, or the group of us having already known, like, okay, maybe this is it, because it would be if it wasn't, and this was Craig was just trying to come up with something, then we could say yeah, this was nothing. But if Craig ended up showing that yeah, this is it, and it ended up matching. See, now it's already out, right?
Well,
So
so
we can't do that.
maybe Craig does have the decode method hashed at in the blockchain, and he can just
Yeah, I guess that
produce
would be
it
the only
or
way
something.
then, right?
But
That would be the only way.
then it's even still just a question of okay, so who knew what when? It's not as simple.
He hashed
I
it in the
can't even
blockchain.
imagine. Well, if it's information that
That would be
people
crazy.
can
Yeah.
decode without knowing anything other than having the Bitcoin white paper, then it's quite possible that people figure it out and then communicate that that's how to do it, and Craig's an enemy and all this other shit.
Yeah, there's something called forced pattern recognition, and I don't like falling victim to that.
Jay Paps, dude, what's up? Let's go to you, my man. Good to see you. How you been?
Not bad, not bad. Quite the revelations with Alex's work here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend that I fully understand all of it. Actually, understood very little of it. But for the record, just so especially Alex could know, the support was not really due to your findings. The support is just for your general dedication to the space and your the reporting you had done during the trial and all that. So you know what, man, you deserve it and more. So I hope whatever comes out of this, I trust you. You're not a stupid guy. I trust you've actually found something. My only real comment that I have regarding all of this though is I've spoken at length on other spaces regarding the AI. And the fact that just the other day, I I was on Grok, and I just kept pestering Grok about tell me the one blockchain that is the most scalable. I'm waiting to hear that one blockchain, and it kept bringing on the usual suspects, the Solana, and I'm like, no, that's not the one. There's one that scales more. There's one that has very low fees, and still it would bring up something else, and I literally sat there because I have no life. I sat there for about 45 minutes and just pestering Grok, and you know what, until I inputted BSV, it would not come up no matter what. But the moment I urge everybody in the space, please do it. See if I'm a liar. At the moment you put BSV in there, all of a sudden, boom. Yes, it is the most scalable. I could see why. Apologies. I'm sorry that I was not admitting it. It was not intentional. Blah blah blah. My point is, you have like Crypto Voyager who asked who mentioned putting it through the AI. Alex's findings through the AI. AI is not friendly to anything Alex has done. And I will bet anything it was recently reprogrammed to make sure not to include anything positive on Alex's findings. Now that being said, maybe Alex's findings are not true, but there is definitely something there, and it's something that has a very, very minuscule chance of having been there without it purposely being placed there. So I had an X comment that said that the something to the alluding to if there's any kind of steganography, absolute any kind in the white paper, it's massive. So it doesn't matter what it
What do
is.
you mean by massive?
It's massive because nobody except for Dr. Wright even ever suggested that there may be something. This is
Right,
the
yeah, I see what
only.
you're saying in terms of information bomb. I thought you might mean inside of data packet.
No. I'm talking about, it's like imagine the whole world. We're all like Cro-Magnon men, and we're dragging stuff on the floor, and then out comes this guy that has a cart with wheels. Nobody even knew what a wheel was, but all of a sudden there's a guy that knows all about wheels. Now people have been putzing around with this white paper for 15 years. No one even thought of anything like that being on there. And the moment something is truly discovered that is actually in there, to me, that's huge. It's to the same degree of Craig saying that Bitcoin is Turing complete in, what was it, 2014, 2015, and
Yeah.
basically being laughed at by everybody.
Was this just the first time it was ever mentioned? Was it at the trial? Maybe you would know, Scott or
I
Alex.
think Craig has mentioned this kind of thing being done before, but at the trial, it was the most clear. I put Steg on the white paper.
There you go. Who else? Nobody was even looking there. Nobody even thought this. Much like the Turing complete. Everybody was laughing at Craig, Who is this guy? No, ethereal concept, Zabo. Mr. I'm Satoshi Nakamoto, #1 suspect. Guy's clueless. But we live in a world that is anything, anybody but Craig. This is what Satoshi is.
Can I just add that it is so ironic that one of the reasons why people think Nick Szabo is Satoshi Nakamoto is because there's NS in Satoshi and his name, and there's NS in a hash in like the Genesis block or something. I mean, that's the level of like stuff they're dealing with. We won't even accept really Craig's name popping out of the white paper, and we're still going, is it irrefutable or not? Right?
Well,
I mean, that to me is almost a little bit ridiculous, but
Well, a lot of people are going to start using AI, which is basically, I like to call it a sophisticated compiler. Garbage in, garbage out. If it's not in the realm, AI cannot have a novel, sophisticated thought. So if for example, we live in a world without daylight, AI will tell you that it's going to be darkness forever because it doesn't know daylight is a thing. Doesn't know that the sun is a thing that could shine light. So any answer you're going to have about the world, it will be a world. It'll be a world encompassed in darkness.
Can we big art guy is spamming the NES with porn, and I'm guessing he's the one who's also playing the music.
Casey, can you manage that? Who's the spammer?
It's literally just completely. So obviously someone doesn't like what's being told, but that just shows you.
Spam. Whoever's spamming, please.
Look, everyone, thanks for allowing me to say my piece. I'm going to drop down. Great space, guys. I see a lot of very smart people here. I'd like to hear what other people have to say. I'll just drop down, but I ain't going anywhere.
Okay, thanks, J Paps. Let's go over to take she. You got your hand up, my man. Thank you. And anybody else, please raise your hand, and we'll go to you next. And please, go ahead. Floor is yours, my man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. First I'd like to thank Gavin and Alex for all the work you guys have been doing for Bitcoin over the years. Alex, I TLDR haven't read the 60-page document. I plan to do it very soon.
Hold
Anyway,
on. There's some
That's
spam
never
or
under.
some. Hold
Hey,
on.
Gavin,
Gonna
can
kick
you
people
remove
under.
that guy?
How do I?
Hey, Gavin, from now on, let me screen people before you let them up so I can make sure this doesn't happen. Sorry,
Okay,
guys.
my bad. Yeah,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Casey.
Thank you.
okay. Yeah, so Alex, can you just state exactly what it is that you found? Well, the string of text that you found and exactly where you found it.
Yeah. So the Bitcoin white paper is a bit like a puzzle in that you have to learn something about how Bitcoin works to read it properly. And that thing you have to learn is that the person that produces the most blocks wins the round, or produces the most hashes wins the round. And then you have to apply that effectively to the numbered list on the network section, page 4 or 3, I think. And if you reorder them a little bit, so you have to split the lines up per punctuation. So every element that you're calculating, the character that you're taking to get the string out, is in between 2 punctuation points. A block or a round is denoted by a comma. So effectively, all the work that you've built up as you're moving from the bottom up the list, and that's signaled by a missing hyphen in non-reversible. And the hyphen is used in the same word immediately beforehand, which is very suspect. Yeah, so if you do run those rules and then swap the last one so that the comma's at the start, and then swap the comma in the middle to the top and swap that entire string, you get the entire string of Dr. Craig Wright, basically. And
What
those
what is it
instructions are
exactly?
inferred by
What's the
F
phrase
natural
exactly?
errors. DCSWRICHT, and we use C in place of G because we are instructed to remove G from our letter list. We also have to remove E. That's very common because E is the most frequent letter and will just cause noise. And then we also have to remove the letters A, L, O, N, G. And then we have to bring back S because the reason why we're moving these letters in the first place is because of the sentence as long as, and then there's some bullshit, and then it ends with before long. And when you repeat words in Steg, it's typically a signal that you should remove stuff. And before long, the letter before long is S. So that's the one we would bring back for the second round. So
Okay,
it's like there's errors and stuff and wording in the document that infer these rules if you speak and are used to steganography.
all right. Would you say that statistically speaking, that being able to pull Craig's last name spelled correctly would be statistically impossible if it wasn't purposely put there?
His last name
Yeah,
only,
WRIGHT.
if it was only his last name, I would say that is very, because it's only 5 letters, but because it's the full 10, or I think it's 11, it's a lot stronger. Plus then the checksum comes into it as well.
Right.
You're talking on the order of times 10 to the minus 40 in terms of percentage chance that it's by chance, because so many elements have to come together.
While you were doing this, were you able to pull out anything else that was coherent, or is it all just
Uh,
randomness except for Craig
it
Wright's name?
it's effectively all random. The only other thing that I noticed is the word not when I was trying to get Adam back's name or something. Because I got the word not when I reintroduced the L, O, N, and G for the second round, which to me is some dude basically saying, no, don't do this. Don't put the don't put all the letters back because then everything will screw up. And I don't know whether that was intentional or that's random chance. It's difficult to know uh, when certain things pop out, whether that's intentional or not. There is one example on the Cypherpunks mailing list that I did a video on. That's a spam email about roofing. It's got a numbered list in it, and the first letter of each line is RL, and then Matty, MATYMAN, and that's kind of like Matty Man, which is, if you're looking for a name or something, like, okay, so that's interesting. But I used that string and put a Caesar cipher over it because I was like, okay, these guys are cryptographers. Maybe it's just a simple Caesar cipher. And there's only 26 different positions. And if you RL Caesar cipher 3 and -3 gives you high and no. So when I was doing it, I saw the two letters high, and then as I kept on going and exhausting all the keys, I got no. And I was like, right, okay, so these guys are talking me through the process, it seems like. Because why else would you specifically, if you're doing this, why else would you use the letters RL unless you're trying to tell people you're going down the wrong path, try something else.
Have
Wow.
you
So
spoken to anybody that's like professional cryptographers, steganographer to like kind of verify or like have them help
There,
you in the process?
there aren't many professional steganographers around that I can find, and that's probably part of the job. But in terms of cryptographers, I mean, I've spoken to the MetaNet ICU Slack and people from the Terranode team. They've read it and the method, and they've kind of given it the thumbs up and said, looks solid, robust. So I added my own
Interesting.
sort of personal flavor to stuff, but yeah,
I'm
all the
looking.
same
I'm
stuff.
looking forward to your video, and I'm looking forward to it going viral. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Thanks, Takesy. Over to
Yeah,
you,
let's hope
Scott.
I can do that. Thanks.
Scott.
yeah, I just found it really interesting that on the two tangents that you went on, the first one you found not, and the second one you found high no. I'm guessing obviously the steganography tool is extremely complicated, so it would seem that even having those sort of basic dead ends, so to speak, rather than full sentences, seem very
Yeah,
very
it
insightful.
it's the sign of a puzzle that's been well thought out and probably tested on people to see what people would do. And that suggests that it's a very important message to me because a lot of time and energy has gone into constructing it.
Wow.
I think even just finding, like, even if you could just find as many no's and sorry, try again as
Yeah,
possible, finding 10 of those and then only finding the way that produces DCS right is in itself just adding to the evidence. It's almost like the mistakes also corroborate the success.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll maybe try and replicate the knot again. But when I saw it, I was just trying to get Adam's back name or get something else out of it, and couldn't.
Yeah, dude, let me
It'd be
ask
good
you.
to see the people that have been quoted in the actual references, because then you've got a list of direct people that you could put it through. And if you get every single reference coming up with no or not or try again, something like that, then that is even more astounding than what you've already got. Sorry, Gavin, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great. I really want to get this over to the UK High Court over there and see if old Judge Mudd up there on the bench with the wig and the mask and all the costume that he had that day would take another quick look at this, because it would be great. He'd say, "Oh, you actually had a code in there with his name," and but they don't care about justice. It's only about one thing, and that's their system, just us only. So it will never get looked at. We already know that court is such bullshit over there. So, dude, I'm not the guy to call courts out and say bullshit, but this one here where this guy's ruling on his own disqualification up there, that on my own affidavit, my own testimony that I know I put in there when we had all those signatures, dude, come on, bro. The guy's just absolutely backwards. So, yeah, it's great that you did this, Alex. I'm just wondering why people. Maybe there's a question for Raphael, because he knows this thing so well. If he wants to comment up, is that like why people hate Craig so much? Why do they not want to be? If his name's in there, why isn't that a great thing? If it really is in there, isn't that great? We want to know what's going on, but it seems like no, it's just the opposite. People come on here and they troll and they want to, play games, and they do not want this out there. So like, what's the deal with that? Maybe you could start with that, Alex. And I see Raphael's up with us too, man. So what's up?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that they don't like Craig because he's not ideologically aligned with them, and there's no other really way to slice it. They're very powerful criminals, and Craig is one man with a very big brain, a lot of motivation, dedication, and potentially some help. I don't know the full extent of the help he's got, but I think it's probably a lot less than people might expect.
When you say help, you mean
And
like help writing the white paper, or what do you mean?
No, I mean more like professional help. Guidance, mentorship when he was younger, and potentially even training for this kind of forensic stuff. I mean, the guy goes around collecting degrees like he's in a candy shop. So I think that if he's ever done stuff with law enforcement, which, we kind of know he has, he did the same thing that he does with everything else and tried to get as many qualifications as possible. And in doing that, will have probably made some pretty good friends along the way.
also, one observation just to point out is that when I was in the court case and Craig made that statement about steganography and things like that, the lawyers looked a little bit nervous. There was a lot of sort of whispering and talking about things, and then sort of very sinister looks, and then very jovial looks, as if they've said, "Oh my God, what the hell is this?" And then someone's going, "Oh, it's nothing," Craig. It's almost like the thing. But the one thing that I didn't, I've cared to mention is that on the very last part when Mellor said, "Is there any cryptographic evidence in the white paper?" Craig very smugly and sort of very confidently said, "There's not cryptographic proof," leading to
Yeah,
obviously
he
possibly
was
steganography and
so
the
specific
yeah
about
yeah
there's
and the
not
Bird and Bird
cryptographic
guys.
proof.
Yeah, and the Bird and Bird guys just was not happy about that one bit, meaning they either thought he had something up his sleeve or they already knew about it and they were desperately trying to keep it out of view of the judge. So
I
that
mean,
is
I'm
one thing.
I'm I'm certain that they already knew, and you have duties. Uh, you know, you have duties, and it seems like they may have been skirting it, and not just skirting it, being right in the middle of it since at least the 90s.
Yeah, because I only saw
The
them look uncomfortable like that twice. Once when he didn't call his expert witnesses in, the experts, and once when he talked about that. That's the only two time I saw any type of phase or issue with the Bird and Bird guys was those 2 points. So it's very interesting.
Nice. Okay, we got J1. You're up next, buddy. You got your hand up. How you doing? J1.
Hello, thanks so much, Gavin, and congratulations, Fauvel, for your investigation. I am very surprised not only for the message you found, but also for the checksum. I think the checksum is very important to verify uh, any message in different protocols. Could you talk a little more about the checksum, how you found it, and how can use to
yeah,
verify the message?
What
yeah.
is
So
checksum? What is checksum
the,
for a novice, Alex?
a checksum is normally at the end of a data packet that is like you hash the entire packet that you're expecting, and that is the checksum. So the resulting hash, if you're missing anything in the data packet, the resulting hash will not match up. So you're missing something and you need to redo whatever you were doing. In Steg, you have the same mechanism, but it's used a little differently, but exactly the same in that it's either at the beginning or end of the message. And if you're looking for a name, it's the initials of the person. So because you can't really have a checksum of 2 letters, that, 2 letters is only one in like 2,000 chance or something. So it's not that uncommon in a 2,000 character document to get 2 letters matching up. 3 letters is a lot, less probable, 1 in 17,000. So instead, you start with the checksum because then that gives you an idea of what message you are expecting. And even if, like in the case with this paper decode, the method I was using, I was getting 3 different possible answers. But only one of those matched up to the message I got out. So it allowed me to verify the fact that the message I got out matched